Hi everyone, it's me JC, and in this video I'm going to be installing some speakers onto the parcel shelf in my car. Now obviously you can do this in any car you want. I'm doing this on my old Seat Ibiza. Let me just show you how I'm going to do this. So pretty much with a lot of cars, especially hatchbacks, a lot of them don't have rear parcel shelf speakers, which is quite a normal thing on like saloons or sedans and things like that. In these cars you always notice that sound of the bass coming from behind, or just the extra sound. It makes a big difference. So by adding speakers onto the rear parcel shelf of your car, it should definitely improve the audio and the overall experience. Let me show you how I plan to do this. Alright then, so here she is. Done all the usual bits and bobs as you do already. I don't need to get into that, but I can do that another time if you're interested. Here is the rear parcel shelf. As you can see, absolutely nothing on it. Actually, when you look at it, it's quite a good template for, I mean, depends if you use this actually as a shelf, but a lot of time people don't. And you can still install speakers on them and use it as a shelf if you wanted to. So it's like, why not? Now, one thing I will say is if your car doesn't have speakers in the back, this is going to make your job a lot more difficult. You're going to probably have to wire it in straight into the amplifier. If you're still in the standard radio on an old car like this, definitely get a head unit first. That will obviously improve your speakers anyway. I'd recommend upgrading your door speakers as well. I've already done that. And that's good for when you're at the front, but in the behind and stuff, you're not getting the full sound, the full experience. So that's the point in doing this whole thing really. Fortunately for me, this car was fitted with the speakers in the back. Obviously it hasn't got back doors, but it's got them in where the passengers would sit. So which means I have the wires which I can cut into, and then I can just wire the parcel shelf speakers to the rear ones, use the power from the head unit, and everything should be alright. Now obviously there's loads of options. You can install the subwoof if you wanted to. My point with this car and what it is that I don't want a lot of heavy additional weight. I don't want a battery drain either. I'm just going to use some speakers that aren't too overly powered that I need an additional amplifier and all that stuff for. And obviously that can just fit on the parcel shelf and still use the boot. Judging by the amount of stuff in there, you can tell I still use the boot. So the biggest benefit of installing it on the parcel shelf is the fact that you still have the boot, which I'm not willing to sacrifice on. But the subwoofer would be nice, but I need the boot space. This car has its purpose, so you know, I'm not willing to compromise on that. Let me show you what my plan is for this. I've not actually tried this ever, but I've seen someone else has done it and it's worked, so I'm feeling pretty confident about it. How I'm going to do this while costing me absolutely nothing is I'm going to repurpose some old speakers. So you might have an old set of speakers lying around where especially if they're powered speakers, the amplifier is broken on it, but the speakers, the cones themselves are completely fine and working. That's exactly what I'm doing here, and let me just show you. These speakers were an old pair of computer speakers. The amplifier is broken, the speakers hear themselves. So yeah, that's exactly what I've done already. I've removed these from the amplifier, so as you can see, they're just the bare units here. Same with this one. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to have a sealed unit or have a bit of a ported setup, but I think I'm going to go for the ported just because I kind of want a bit more of that thumpiness of the bass, especially if the speakers are behind on the shelf. So that's an important thing. Don't go overkill on speakers. You don't even need to. There's no point in getting a big, especially if you're not running any additional power to it. If you are going to rip some old speakers apart like me, definitely just check online and check what the wattage of the speakers were. If you've got an aftermarket head unit, you can also check what the wattage, the output wattage is as well. Definitely don't want any speakers that are higher than the wattage, the output, because you'll just end up distorting more likely. Ideally want to have it as close as possible. Alright, so the first step in this is accessing the rear speakers so I can get to the wires. I'm going to connect the speakers up to them directly and just see how they actually sound before I start cutting the parcel shelf and doing all that stuff. To access in the rear, you're going to need one of these pry tool, plastic. Don't use a screwdriver on your plastics on the inside of your car, you're just going to fuck them up. It's not worth it. Just get one of these, it'll change your life.